All right, everybody, welcome into Around the Felt, our second ever Zoom pod, our new home, unfortunately. But you know what? We might be at different felt tables, but we're still one company. Colin, what's up? How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing well, brother. I want everyone to know I actually still am around a felt table right now. Thanks to Reagan, myself, Croc, a couple of the boys. We got Drock a poker table and we moved out because it had to be done. I needed to be around the felt for the podcasts. But it is weird not being next to you, my friend. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and going on that poker story, I mean, it's the last time I get Dave a gift. I mean, I call the kid up. I'm like, hey, like, what do you think of the gift we got you? He's like, oh, fuck, I forgot to say thank you. Thanks, man. It's like, all right,
It
dude.
was a whirlwind of a night. But yeah, we're joined by Walmart today and Kenny, two OG fans. Now that we're on Zoom, you guys can join in and ask your questions live. It should be a lot more fun. But we got a lot of news, boys. A lot of news with the deadline. Yep, absolutely. I'm right with you, brother.
Naturally. Come on.
With the franchise tag deadline today, a lot of players got tagged. We're going to
Oh,
start
yeah.
with Michael Pittman for the Colts, Brian
Penny
Burns with the
City.
Panthers, Jalen Johnson with the Bears, Justin Matabuke for the Ravens, Antoine Winfield for the Bucks, Josh Allen for the Jags, Kyle Duggar for the Pats. None of those really surprised to me except for maybe Duggar, just because of Wenahu, their offensive lineman that I think is going to get a bag in free agency, considering there's not a great offensive line class in free agency. So I don't know, but they went with Duggar instead.
I mean, we'll also like look where the Patriots are at. That is kind of surprising.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of holes to fill, and losing help along the offensive line when it's more likely than not they're going to take a quarterback at number 3. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a recipe for success, but hey, we'll see.
Well, also, how about none of the running backs getting franchise tagged? Not
None
one.
of them. I mean,
mean,
I know Giants Twitter was pretty upset that Saquon is testing the open market. I think this is Giants' plan, though, for Saquon. They want him to
Giants
see
Twitter's
their
a bunch of
actual
fucking
market
babies.
value. Yeah, Giants
Bunch of
Twitter is a shit
babies.
show, dude. It's a
Bunch
shit
of
show.
babies. You should honestly you should not want to pay him top dollar. Shouldn't.
No, I mean, and that's the thing. All these running backs now, we're gonna see how much they get. I was seeing on Twitter, a lot of people within NFL circles expect that Barkley's gonna get around 8 million a year, which is a lot
That's a
less
lot
than
less
he
than the friend.
wants.
Yeah.
The franchise tag would have been 12. I think he
Yeah.
wanted last year when he turned down the Giants offer mid-season. He wanted around 14. Jacobs didn't get paid after he led the league in rushing. Henry's now up there in age. The consensus seems to be Barkley and Jacobs are the two top of the class. Then that second tier is kind of Henry, Pollard, and Swift. I don't know. What do you guys think? Where are some good landing spots for these guys?
I mean, me personally, I think Houston for sure. Like
Yeah.
if there's an ideal spot for Saquon to go, it's Houston. All those young weapons. Obviously CJ Stroud's different. Um, Bro, if Saquon can go to Houston, that's a problem. Like that's a serious problem for the rest of the league. Like honestly, I know you'll hate to see it, but like
I will be upset. I'm not gonna lie. I will be upset.
yeah,
Houston is just screams it because they have a franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. Chicago to me as well because they have a ton of cap space and they're probably gonna take Caleb Williams. So those two teams could definitely afford to pay a veteran running back. Also, I think the Chargers, even though they're in a tough cap spot right now, Jim Harbaugh wants to run the football. I
mhm,
think that's a sneaky spot for some of these backs,
yeah.
unless he's planning taking Blake Corum in the draft.
Yeah, the one thing I will say also, like to your point about Chicago, I think that's honestly a great spot too, just because it seems like they are going to go Caleb. It takes a lot of the pressure off him early if you get an elite running back there, like to sort of carry a good amount of your offense through the running game, and then ultimately opening up through the pass, through play action, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
almost wonder if any of these running backs like switch places that they're at. You know what I mean? Like there's so many openings, so I almost wonder if some of them take each other's jobs.
Mhm.
Also, Walmart. I'm curious with you as a Commanders fan. I think Tony Pollard might end up in Washington. I heard him and Dan Quinn were very close. So I think there could be a chance that you guys would bring him in on a cheap deal with all that money.
Look, I mean, I'm not opposed. Like, yeah, he had a down year last year, but like, I think we see it with like two running back systems. A lot of the times, like the RB2 when stepping up as the RB1 doesn't always work out. I think Pollard would come in and probably be our RB1. But like having someone like B-Rob, who I think had a solid year last year, again, like behind a horrible O-line,
He did.
having someone like him to complement him, I think would actually work out pretty well. Kind of like an AG type thing, but even better, honestly.
I think that's a good call.
Yeah, especially because Dan Quinn's going to want to get some of his guys in there.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
They need help on defense, though. Let's be honest here.
Well, yeah, if we could bring in some of those guys from Dallas somehow, I mean, that'd be ideal. I saw a lot of Daniil Hunter from Minnesota is obviously a hot topic. That'd be ideal as well. So we'll see.
You know what's interesting to me? I know it's a new regime now, but the fact that they traded Sweat, who's younger than Hunter, and they traded Young. I mean, Hunter's better than he's had a better career than both those guys. He's just been more consistent over the last several years, but he is older, so it almost doesn't fit the team's timeline as much.
I agree. I mean, Young, I'm happy to see go. Montez hurt. That one hurt. I didn't really get it.
He balled out in Chicago.
Balled out, bro. I mean,
changed their defense.
Huge. And I'm happy he balled out there. Was a Pro Bowler. Huge fan of Montez, but I don't really fully understand that one, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, and he was a guy, which will honestly segue into our next thing, is kind of getting into the combine a little bit. But he was a guy that went off at the combine, and I remember his stock went up crazy after his 40 time.
Yeah.
So that kind of segues into it. What about the Texas wide receiver and Worthy freaking breaking the record? What do you guys think about that?
Oh, my God, man. You know what's nuts? I'm still seeing mock drafts with him going 32 to the Chiefs, and I just think there's no way the league lets Xavier Worthy go to KC after a 4-2-1.
Can't let it happen. Just can't let it
happen. No
way,
man. No way. And I was watching some of his highlights. He can take a screen to the house from anywhere. Like, he's not just a downfield guy. Like, he can make people miss, and he can run routes.
Elite route runner. Underrated route runner. I think Kansas City would have to trade up to maybe 24, 25 spot to be able to grab. I don't think he'll fall to 32. I just don't see it happening. 4-2. What was it?
4-2-1.
4-2-1. That speed you can't teach. I can't see him falling to 32. I just don't.
I don't see it either. But also, I don't think anyone's gonna want to trade up for a receiver. It's not like last year where there's 4. But also at the same time, it wasn't an elite wide receiver class. The first one was JSN, 20th overall. Yeah. Where this year there's so many good ones. Every draft guy who does this for a living is my entire top 50 players consist of offensive tackles and wide receivers.
Yeah, I was watching a Washington podcast, and there was just basically saying receivers, it might be a draft class where, yes, there's so many, but you could see a lot fall just because you want to fill more team needs and know that it's a deep class. So you can wait till, round 2, 3, maybe even 4, find a diamond in the rough and go grab your receiver. I don't, Lad McConkey,
out of Georgia.
I don't think he's going to go round 1. I'd be surprised. And
I think he's a top of the round 2 guy.
Yeah, but he's a stud. He's a stud.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be an interesting draft,
But also with all Mike Evans signed his big deal. We didn't talk about that yet. What was it? $52 million. Pittman got tagged.
He got a big deal. And then obviously Russell Wilson.
Yeah, dude, we
probably the biggest news
yet. Listen to this shit, boys. They released Russell Wilson. When they brought him over, he had 2 years left on his deal. They signed him to a 5-year extension. He was already in his 30s. He didn't play a single snap on that extension, not one. There was an NFL record $85 million in dead cap, bro, and they gave up 2 firsts, 2 seconds. Drew Lock, Noah Fant. Oh my God, man!
That blog might have to change, Tom. Worst trade in NFL history. It's close.
Yeah. It's worse than Deshaun Watson. It is worse than Deshaun Watson now.
Yeah, dude. You didn't think it could get much worse. It got worse.
Now, obviously, we're too young to remember the Herschel Walker days, but I saw people say this is the worst trade since the Herschel Walker trade.
Well, also, who was the one running back? Ricky Williams. What about that trade? Wasn't that Washington that gave up everything for him?
No, Washington got everything for him.
Everything. Yeah, that's got to be one of the worst trades too. If you look at that, giving up all that capital
draft
for a running back.
Yeah, for a running back. I mean, it was a run dominant league then, but now mistakes like that have shown us why it's not a run dominant league anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all through the air now.
Absolutely. You know what's interesting with the Russell Wilson thing too? They owe him $39 million in cash this year. If he signed for any amount of dollars, it just comes down from that 39 that Denver owes him. So say he signed somewhere for $9 million, Denver owes him 30, another team owes him 9. Why would anyone do that? Pay him the league minimum And Russell Wilson's gonna be like, that's cool with me because I'm just screwing over Denver more.
Yeah.
Well, also he's helping his team out.
Yeah, they
Like
save
he's
more.
getting his money regardless, so why would he not take the cheapest possible deal possible? Like then, yeah, actually he's guaranteed he's getting the veteran minimum. That's a guarantee. There's no
he's
doubt in
getting
my mind.
39 million no matter what. That's his
Yeah,
salary
no
next year.
matter
Denver's
what,
gonna
dude.
pay it all.
No, he's
except for
actually
minimum.
guaranteed to get the veteran minimum. He would be like, why would a team offer him anything? He's going to get his money no matter what. He'd be an idiot to take anything more. And the teams are obviously so smart. Yeah, you already know his contract. No matter what, Denver's paying him all that contract.
Yeah, and it's weird because now it's like it might be one of the most interesting free agents of all time because it has nothing to do with the money. No one can outbid the other guy. It's all about fit and where he wants to be and who wants him the most, who gives
Maybe
him
the
the most
Giants will get him
opportunity
now.
to play. I mean, I did see if the Giants miss out on quarterbacks, maybe they bring in Wilson to compete with Jones obviously coming off the ACL.
Oh, I was thinking of the other Wilson.
No, Russell Wilson. They don't want Zach Wilson. I can tell you that. I saw maybe New England if they're not sold on a rookie, or if they think the rookie they take needs to sit for a year and they want to groom him because obviously that roster is terrible. You want to throw him in the fire like we saw with Bryce Young last year. That could screw him. Obviously, Pittsburgh with Kenny Pickett, that one it seems pretty obvious. If Minnesota loses Kirk Cousins to Atlanta, which there's a lot of smoke with that right now. Apparently, he's looking at Holmes. I don't know how true that is, but
Well,
Kirk Cousins in Atlanta would be fun.
They're the favorite to get him now on the betting app. So
Atlanta's the favorite to get
Cousins. Yes.
Cousins. Yes.
Yeah. Minus 175.
Wow. Minus 175.
Wow. Yeah, I did not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy shit, boys. Kirk, but also that makes that Atlanta offense a lot more fun for fantasy. We've been waiting for it. If you can hold on to Kyle Pitts and Drake London, maybe you get rewarded with Kirk Cousins in the fold. We've seen a lot of elite wide receiver seasons with Kirk Cousins at the helm.
So if Kirk goes to Atlanta, where do you see Fields going?
I'm still hoping he stays. I still hope he stays.
I think there's no way.
You've been beating that drum since like October.
Yeah,
bro.
I think at this point, I think the writing's on the wall that he's gone, but I still think that's the best move for them. But whatever. So if I got to pick someone, I don't know, man. I feel like it could be one of those teams that miss out on the quarterback. Like I'm not gonna rule out the Giants. I'm not gonna rule out New England as like a sleeper team where they're like maybe they just go Marvin Harrison and then they go trade for Justin Fields and they're like let's see if we can just put a little Band-Aid on this instead of fully rebuilding.
Hey, New England's interesting, man. Maybe they're like we like Fields more as a prospect. We like them more as a prospect in what we've seen so far in the league than we do, say, Jaden Daniels if he's there or JJ McCarthy. And they're like, let's give away a second and a fourth. Let's bring in Fields and let's take Marv at 3.
So I'm saying, it's like slapping a Band-Aid on it.
That's interesting. That's interesting. What about Denver? Because now you don't have Russell Wilson, but you obviously don't have a lot of money with all that dead cap, and you're what picking 12th overall? I mean, unless you want JJ McCarthy, or you want to take a shot.
Denver is though, dude, like they don't have the money. Where if he does work out, like how the hell are they gonna pay him? Like, what happens when it's time to pay him?
They're so screwed, bro. That might be the worst
I think they almost
rebuild in
have
football.
They almost have to start a rookie quarterback. Like, I don't think it's possible for them. Like, the risk on Justin Fields, like, yeah, it would be nice if he pans out, but like, what the hell are you gonna do when it comes time to pay him in 2 years?
No, because they're gonna have dead money for the next couple of years.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I don't.
The quarterback's the most
important
position. Also, I don't know how Justin Fields would fit in the Sean Payton offense.
Yeah,
that's another thing. I don't know. All right, guys. The Seahawks released Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, both safeties. It seems like Jamal Adams' time as an elite safety is certainly done in this league. Where do we think he ends up? I saw some rumors on Jets Twitter, Reagan, that he wants to be back, and all the Jets fans like, nope, we're good.
I'd take him. He wouldn't cost much. Honestly, I think a lot of teams would be smart to give him something because I think at this point he's a chess piece. Like he might not be a starting safety at this point, but I think he's more of like a hybrid player, like a Keanu O'Neal that you can almost like bring up in the box and have him play like a linebacker. So I don't know. Like what if he goes with Wink? Like what about that? Like kind of
Wink
like
is at Michigan, bro.
Wink is in college.
Oh wow, that's some big.
Did you mean Dan Quinn? Maybe he goes to Washington and plays that.
No, I meant Wink. I went Wink because I was
Dallas.
thinking more of like a Isaiah Simmons role where you kind of use him as like a chess piece. But honestly, I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got eligibility. Maybe he can early.
Man, that's some big time. You never know with the end.
I have seen Washington just because Cam Curl, it's up to whether or not we pay him or not. If we don't pay him, I could see us signing him, like signing Jamal, cheap deal. Adding a veteran presence to the defense. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Did you see Cam's tweet today?
Cam Curl?
Curls? Yeah.
No, I did
He
not.
put up deuces.
Fuck.
Yeah, so I don't know if Cam Curl is in Washington's plans.
That's heartbreaking.
I want to confirm
Yo,
that tweet.
Walmart PG friendly stream. PG friendly.
My fault, fellas.
Yo,
Sorry.
Walmart listens to every pod. He knows it's not PG friendly.
Only
Oh
a
yeah,
time-
all he did, the
depending on the
only
mood
thing
we're
on
in.
the tweet is just deuces.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
not
yeah,
good. That's not good.
Yeah.
No, that's not good.
The one before that was a retweet of Calvin Ridley saying, "Boys, make these accounts and play GM." Oh shit. All right, guys. Last piece of news before we roll into questions. The Texans re-signed Dalton Schultz to a 3-year, $36 million deal. He is now the 12th highest paid tight end in football. That's good. That's kind of a good range for him. Makes sense. He was a good safety blanket for CJ Stroud last year. They have a lot of money for next year. What do you guys think of the signing? I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I would definitely go target him in Dynasty because at the end of the day, look at how good CJ Stroud was this year. If you can get a guy that you know is getting paid for the next 3 years with an elite quarterback, probably for cheap because at the end of the day, he is on the older side. So a lot of people like to target those younger guys. But if you're a win now team, I'd definitely go target him. I don't think you have to give up a ton of capital either.
My
Yeah,
question is like,
you got it. You got it. Go.
oh, sorry.
good.
Yeah. I was thinking, what happened to Brevin Jordan, man? He's a freak athlete. Like, I really thought he was going to get a chance in Houston. I mean, I know Dalton Schultz is a dog, but like, what happened to him? Like, did I miss something? Like, is he dog shit?
I don't know. I guess the new regime came in. They didn't really believe in him long term. They signed Dalton Schultz as
He's
a veteran
23.
presence.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
That's a good question. What were you going to
sorry.
say, Kenny?
No, I was going to say, especially with a young quarterback, they love going to those tight ends, and Dalton Schultz has now become his kind of security blanket. So in fantasy, I definitely look at kind of buying into him, and at least for the next 2 years. I mean, he is getting up there in age a little bit, but I mean, a young quarterback's going to go to the guys that he knows he can, rely on. So I think he's going to be, right on that top 10 line next year for tight ends, especially in fantasy.
Yeah, and Stroud's only going to get better. I follow a lot of Dynasty guys on Twitter, and they were talking about redraft. They're like, I'd rather take Dalton Schultz in round 10 or later than take those mid-tier, like 7 to 9 range, like a David Njoku or an Evan Ingram kind of guy in like round 6, 7. Take Schultz like 3 or 4 rounds later.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know about Evan Ingram just because like Jacksonville's kind of weak when it comes to weapons if Ridley's gone.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Ingram did have 100 catches this year.
Yeah, like T-Law loves him. So I don't know. But yeah, Njoku, I agree 100%. Evan Ingram, I'm a little higher on than that though.
I'd agree. All right, boys.
Wait,
What do
one
we
more
got?
thing.
Hey,
We
what
didn't
do you
even talk about it, bro. Blake Corum benched as much as Joe Alt. Like that to me is ridiculous. A running back put up 27 reps of 225, the same as like one of the best tackles in the class. I mean,
Arm
obviously
length.
we saw it doesn't fully matter in the long run because I mean, look at Orlando Brown Jr. Like his stock plummeted in the draft and he ends up being an all-pro multiple times. So I know it doesn't matter, but I just think that's fascinating that could happen.
I think it's tough for a 6'9" man to bench.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
Yeah,
reps. The
still
long
though,
arms.
still.
That clip, like the clip alone, you can see how much shorter like Blake Corum's arms are than Joe Alt. Like it's night and day how much further he's pushing up. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, and I guess that's more of honestly a good thing for if you're drafting Blake Corum because I mean that's a lot of strength out of your running back position.
100%.
I definitely think that's going to help his stock because I'd imagine he's going to end up being a pretty good blocking running back in this league, which is a factor that a lot of teams I feel like should value more. That's why I'm so high on Zeke. His pass blocking is one of the best.
That's your boy, bro. You love Zeke.
Hey, had a great year this year for fantasy.
All right, boys. That wraps up the news. Walmart, Kenny, what do you guys got? AFC South questions.
Kenny, you go ahead.
Well, I guess the first one I got for you is what direction you think the Jags are going to go if Ridley happens to leave in free agency here, at the wide receiver position, because they're going to be very shorthanded if he's out the door.
That's a good question. And Christian Kirk also had a serious injury at the end of last year, and they don't really have much behind him.
Well,
I mean, I keep seeing a lot of corner talk for the Jags in the draft because they released Darius Williams today also. So they have a big hole opposite Tyson Campbell. I think first round, they got to target corner receiver, and then the second round they got to go target the other.
And they do have Parker Washington, Jake's Shake and Bake's favorite play.
Oh my God.
Very long lived. But yeah, no, I mean, he showed some flashes out of Penn State. So I think he'll be a guy that steps into a bigger role if Ridley is to leave. But yeah, they definitely need to address the position. And this, honestly, in free agency, I don't think there's going to be that many options out there to go sign, especially if you're letting one of them walk.
No, that's kind of been the trend recently, the last couple of years, as the wide receiver positions become more valuable. Teams don't let their guys go. It's very rare, especially in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, I'll chime in here. So I'd say my number one question is obviously you see quarterbacks that come in. No one quite like CJ Stroud as a rookie, but we do see the sophomore slump, happen on the occasion. So if CJ Stroud were to have a sophomore slump, not saying he's, horrible, but he doesn't have as good of a year as he did last year, what is the Texans ceiling?
Well, they have so much cap space, so they're going to improve the roster around them. This year, they went 10-7. They won the division. They won a playoff game. They didn't just win a playoff game. They beat the shit out of the Browns, and the Browns were playing really good ball before that. If Stroud regresses a little bit, I mean, I still wouldn't count out. The Colts went 9-8 with Gardner Minshew. The Jags were 8-3 and had a late season collapse. This division's gonna be really competitive next year.
Mhm.
I think they're still the slight favorites to win it again next year. But if Stroud has a little bit of a slump, even with a better roster, I think their ceiling is probably divisional round like it was this year, just because that's such a loaded conference. And with Burrow coming back, Cincinnati's going to be better. Baltimore's going to be back.
Yeah.
Buffalo's going to be back. Miami's still going to be there. There's a lot of Kansas City. There's still a lot of teams. So if
Jets.
Stroud isn't playing the same level, the Jets are going to be better. Yeah, Jets. I mean, I hate to say it, they're going to be
Can't
better.
forget him.
I think the divisional round probably for me.
I see them more as like the Jaguars of this year, where it's like the team's good and they can put it together. But at the end of the day, like if the quarterback is injured and slumping at times and they just can't put it all together, they're not going to make the playoffs. So I view their ceiling as more of a like fighting for the division, but just missing out.
Yeah,
Damn,
the
bro.
AFC is just so competitive, dude. It's so competitive, and like their division alone is so competitive that, like Tong said, it's going to be hard to make it out if Stroud doesn't ball the way he did last year or this past year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a chance in hell they make the playoffs if he doesn't play to a damn near the same level, if not better. I mean, he could be slightly worse, but if you're talking like slump, like in a sophomore slump, there's no chance they make the playoffs in my books.
Yeah.
It's just too loaded. If they were in the NFC, then yes.
Right. I
But
agree
no.
with that. Yeah.
It's a fair point. I got a question for you guys, actually. What are your expectations for Anthony Richardson coming back off the shoulder injury next year?
Yeah,
Because
That's what I was
obviously he
just thinking about.
showed a lot of flashes this year, especially rushing before, he got the concussion after he had 2 rushing touchdowns in like the first half. And then obviously it was his throwing shoulder. So what do you guys think is his ceiling next year and how far can he take the Colts?
It's a very weird situation because obviously they did pretty well, once he went out and were able to get to that final game for a chance to make the playoffs. But I don't know. I mean, he showed a lot of flashes that he could carry this team and take them to the playoffs. I don't know if it'll be good enough to win the division because, I mean, you expect the Jaguars to get better. Houston's good. But you expect them to kind of be back where they were this year, going into week 18, fighting for that playoff spot. I think you might see a little hesitation for him to run out the jump, just because guys get hurt. That's just something that happens. So it might take him like 4, maybe 5 weeks to kind of get back into his groove that you kind of saw from this year.
Yeah, me personally, I'd say like I think there's 3 teams that are gonna make it to the playoffs out of this division, and I absolutely think the Colts can be one of them. I think I'm like so high on Anthony Richardson. I think he's a dog, and I think they're only going to get better. Pittman's back, which is huge, super underrated, and they have weapons for the most part. Jonathan Taylor,
I like Josh
also,
Downs. He's
yeah,
good out
I
of the
love
slot.
Josh Downs, and like Jonathan Taylor coming back. I mean, he was back last year, but full season of health, hopefully. Dude, I think they can be a serious problem. I don't know if they win the division, but definitely a wild card team.
Just for reference, they had the 15th total offense this year with Gardner Minshew and the 10th scoring offense. And Gardner Minshew was a Pro Bowler. Defense was the problem. That's why they went 9-8. They had a bottom 10 defense in the league. So Richardson obviously raises the ceiling of this team. I mean, I think he needs to slide a little bit more, but it's tough when a dude that's 6'5" and can run a 4.4, like you want him to play his game. Yeah, it's tough to be like, you got to slide, but try to, watch a little bit of Lamar. Lamar doesn't get hit a lot. Sneaky. He gets out of bounds. He doesn't take big hits. He's a little subtle. I know Richardson's a big dude, but watch a little Lamar tape. Stay healthy.
Maybe some Josh Allen tape too. I mean,
Josh
he
Allen jumps
obviously
over people, bro.
That's what I was gonna say.
Allen
He
gets beat up.
still gets beat up, but I mean, he definitely has been a lot smarter than earlier on in his career. I mean, I think he's made a lot more of a concise effort to not let that happen. But
I agree with that.
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's the NFL. It doesn't matter what size you are. Freak shit could happen always.
A little off topic. I wanted to bring up because we're talking about quarterbacks getting hit with this draft. I know Jaden Daniels has a lot of question marks on, just him taking too many hits, all that. When you watch tape of Caleb Williams, like the way he avoids hits, it's almost like it hinders the team a little bit. How much he avoids hits. Like he'll slide when guys are behind him from like chasing him from behind.
Yeah.
Yes, you want your quarterback to protect yourself, but at the same time, you want a guy with a competitive edge, like that wants to get into the end zone. You know what I mean? So
absolutely,
it's a little. I like it if I'm Chicago and I want to protect my franchise guy, but at the same time, you want to see that competitive edge where like I want to get in the end zone.
That's why it's a fine line. It depends on the circumstance, and you need to have a quarterback that understands the game and knows when to slide and when to go for the first down or go for the touchdown. And if it's week one and it's the second quarter and it's 3rd and 5 and you're right there, but you got to take a hit from a guy like Fred Warner, like, okay, be a little smart, But if it's week 18, win or go home, and you got a guy like Max Crosby chasing you down, you might have to stretch that one out, even though it's going to hurt.
Yep.
Well, I look at guys like, and obviously he's different than them. He's more athletic, but look at the Manning brothers and look at Tom Brady. I mean, they'd see a guy and they would just fall over. They'd just be like, I'm not even going to try to avoid this. And they just fall to the ground. So I think with him being more athletic, he needs to take more risks because he's not Tom Brady in the sense where he can actually run and pick up the first down. But like you're saying, like for the locker room, I think he's going to have to try to do that because they don't want to see him like caring more about himself and like sliding instead of when he can clearly pick up the first down.
Yeah, it's tough for a guy like Brady or Manning's because it's like that's what they did was just pick apart defenses with their arms, with their IQ of the game. And someone like Richardson or Mahomes or Allen, the guys that we've been naming, like what makes them so good is the fact that they can do that. And so like you almost have to let them you kind of have to give them that free reign, but at the same time, you got to teach them to protect themselves, like as well,
100%.
Yeah. Last thing you want is your franchise quarterback suffering multiple season-end injuries, and then
RG3.
Your investment is done. RG3, Andrew Luck,
Yeah.
even Daniel Jones right now, bro. 2 neck injuries and an ACL, and now he might be out of a job. Like, it's nuts. Anything else, fellas?
I think we got to hit on, all the teams here. What do you think the Titans got to do moving forward here? I mean, they just seem like they are spiraling to the bottom of its division, and there's no sense of hope.
Absolutely, dude. So they're in trouble in my mind. They're absolutely in trouble. The offensive line has one building block that's actually worth keeping on the roster, and it's Skoronski, who just took, right? So number 7's like, okay, do we go Joe Alt if he's there? The top tackle on your board. But it's also like the only viable receiver we have is Treylon Burks, who you took to replace A.J. Brown, showed some flashes his rookie year, then got hurt again last year, and then was very inconsistent. So they need receiver help. Like you have D-Hop, but I mean, what is he, 32, 33? Like, I don't know. You need a young buck at receiver, absolutely. It's tough, man, because the defense was mid last year, but the offense really is bad. And I don't believe in Will Levis long-term. Reagan, I don't know how you feel about him, but he's very inaccurate and sporadic. And although he did have some nice deep balls to D-Hop, and I almost felt like D-Hop made him look good.
Yeah, I mean, with Levis, I'm kind of like waiting to see. I mean, a lot of rookies don't have the CJ Stroud like impact right away. So I'd love to see him play the full year. I mean, this is not going to be a playoff team, so there's really no reason to put anyone else in but him. Obviously, if he gets injured, he gets injured. But if he's healthy, I would start him every game. Like, it's all about building for the future. And then at the end of the day, like, it's a new coaching staff, so it's not their guys. So they're going to play with him this year. And if it doesn't work out, they'll be picking high next year, and they'll end up drafting a quarterback and starting fresh. But I do like
Yeah.
Tajay Spears. I think that's a nice building block, and I think he'll be a guy to get a lot of touches this year. So if you're in dynasty leagues, I'd definitely be trying to target him. I don't think he'll be cheap, but if you know someone that like doesn't fully know his value yet, definitely try to get him now before the offseason hype comes in and all these different fantasy networks are really hyping up his value.
I like that
Yeah, I
call.
think that defense is going to take a very big hit. I think it's going to go very noticed on how big losing Vrabel and their DC was, who is now over with the Giants. But
Let's
I think
go.
getting rid of Vrabel was one of the biggest mistakes they are going to learn that they made, because that was
Absolutely.
not his problem.
They
They're
forced
going
him
to
out
see
the
it with the
door.
defense next year. Yeah.
Didn't make any
It wasn't
sense.
his fault. Nothing. The roster just they went all for it in the Henry years when he was running them through walls to the AFC Championship. Um, none of this was his fault. The roster just was not good.
No, absolutely not. Just for reference, this is why I'm not very high on Levis. His completion percentage was 58.4% last year, which is probably last in the league. That's terrible.
Ugh.
8 touchdowns, 4 picks. I mean, the completion rate is what scares the shit out of me.
Not good.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of like a baby Baker. I mean, just like and Baker balled out. Don't get me wrong, that's our boy Tong. Don't get me wrong, but
Yes, sir.
he kind of reminds me of like a little bit of a baby Baker, where what you see is kind of what you get with him. Like, I don't think he's not a franchise guy. He's not a guy that you're gonna like
Win a Super Bowl with.
No, he's not, and he's kind of in that Howell boat with me as well. Like, where they're solid, they show flashes, but like so can almost any NFL quarterback. Like in reality, other than Zach Wilson.
Hey, I'm down. Hey, I'm down to do a Howell Wilson swap. Like, who says no?
I'm not. I am so not down.
Come on.
But yeah, he just he falls in that boat for me. I think he's he shows flashes and whatnot. He had obviously that great debut, but I don't know, what you see is what you get with him for me.
I'd have to agree there. All right, boys, that wraps up the questions. We're going to take a short break. Then we're going to give our division grades.
What's up, everyone? I've been telling you about Warner Law Firm. They're our newest sponsor, and we want to tell you more. So there's times in life where maybe you do something where you get in trouble, whether it's little or big, and you're going to need help. I know me. I didn't have an easy pass. I blew right through that toll without an easy pass, got a ticket. I talked to Warner Law. They were able to talk me through the best way to fight it, and they bailed me out big time. I don't have to pay for it now. Thank you, Warner Law.
All right, Reagan. We're going to start with the bottom of the barrel here. The Tennessee Titans, 6-11 last year. Offensively, they ranked 28th total, 27th in scoring. Yuck. Defensively, 17th total, 16th scoring. What grade did you land with the Titans?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's hard to love these guys after they screwed me. I'm going to be drinking mayo in my coffee because of these fools.
That's true. Season-long bet. 8.5. Not even close.
Ryan Tannehill, my ass. I mean, I was really hyping him up, and I think Derrick Henry had as many touchdown passes as him, so never loved that one. So I had to land with a D here because honestly, I had a higher expectations. I really thought this was going to be the classic Mike Vrabel team. Everyone's writing him off. They ride Derrick Henry. Pause. But yeah, I really thought this was going to be a season where Tannehill would step back into that form. I was expecting big things from the defense. Kevin Byard obviously got traded, now released. Another guy we didn't talk about earlier. I thought Simmons would have had a better year. So overall, just a dumpster fire of a season that ended in Mike Vrabel being fired. So
I also gave him a D. Same exact grade, brother. Roster was clearly lacking talent before the season. I didn't expect them to compete. The old offensive line was a disaster. We knew that preseason. Skoronski is their only valuable piece on that unit. Already touched on Levis. We don't believe in him long term. Very inaccurate. But, maybe he can progress. The problem is he was an old rookie. He was 24 as a rookie. So, I mean, there's guys that have been in the league for 2 years already that are younger than him. Now, losing Mike Vrabel, that was not a good look. It almost seemed like out of the blue. I don't know why they did that. We'll see if his replacement's better, but I do think it's weird that Mike Vrabel is not coaching this year, though. I think he'll be in high demand next offseason. But yeah, the team's going to look a lot different 2024. Obviously, no more Horse Henry, most likely. Maybe the market's not there for him and they bring him back, but I doubt it. But like you mentioned earlier, Reagan, Tajay Spears did show some flashes, especially in the receiving game. But yeah, I think this team, honestly, next year is probably looking at a similar season. They might be even worse.
Yeah. One more thing, real quick. I mean, I am very intrigued by them getting Brian Callahan because he obviously was the Bengals OC the past 4 years, and obviously Joe Burrow is very talented. But what he was able to do with Jake Browning was obviously very impressive. He made him
Good
look like
point.
a startable quarterback. So I almost wonder, and it's probably unlikely that the Bengals shop him just with Joe Burrow dealing with injuries a lot throughout his career up to this point. So they probably won't want to deal his backup. But do the Titans try to get a package together to get Browning, bring him there, and maybe if Levis doesn't work out, they move forward with Browning as the quarterback?
What's your ceiling with Jake Browning?
I don't know, dude, because we it was a small sample size, but they were definitely winning games with him. I mean, he
Do the
definitely
Titans have
looked.
Jamar Chase? My next question. Do they have T. Higgins?
No,
Do they
they
have Orlando
don't.
Brown at left tackle?
No, but they do got Ben Skoronski and they do got Tajay Spears. They
Ben
do have
Skoronski.
what
You
would I
mean
say? Or Peter Skoronski. Wait, who the hell is Ben Skoronski? What does that
who,
sound like? That's got to be someone famous. Somebody look that up. Fact check that.
is that Ben Skoronik? Is that Skoronik's first name?
You mean Michael Batoff?
No, not Michael Batoff, bro.
Well, that's what I named him in my dynasty league. So, um, and maybe Burks works out. But yeah, in all reality, yes, the roster isn't as talented. But I'm just saying that's a name to look out for if he tries to pair back up with him in the future.
Kenny, what would you grade the Titans?
Honestly, just because of Vrabel, an F. I'd have
An
to go
F.
now.
An
Wow.
Because of
F.
Vrabel.
6 wins is
Just
an F.
because of that. Uh, I just think that was such a poor decision on their part to get rid of him. If we're going season wide without, if you want me to put the Vrabel to the side, yeah, I'd probably agree with you guys on the D. Um, I mean, they had
Agree with
still
the
had
D.
Henry, they had they had Hop, they had Hopkins. I mean, they were trying out a rookie. I think they could have went into the season with a better plan at quarterback. And the defense was good, so well, middle of the pack, but still kind of very solid and for the talent I think that they have on the roster. But they just weren't ever really a shot to make the playoffs. I really think that they could have did a better job all around in last off season, kind of building this team to be more of a winner, especially starting at the quarterback position. Because I mean, we all knew what they had there. Levis, we didn't was the only question mark, but you knew what you had going into the season, so it's not exactly a surprise that they went with 6 wins.
I'm surprised. All right, Professor Zins. I
Reagan's
know you want to give him
great
an
and
F
a
over
half.
there, but I mean, Vegas did give him an 8.5 win total, so it wasn't like everybody knew they were going to be ass this year. All right, it wasn't, because I don't know. A lot of people were saying the tag. I guess I see your point, but because Vegas clearly was way off on that division as a whole, because the two teams they said were going to win like 4 or 5 games ended up fighting the last week of the season to make the playoffs. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Walmart, what would you give
I
him?
mean, with the Jags, the division is a big thing too. That's kind of why, I mean, the 8.5 was high based on, the height, just because of Derrick Henry. I mean, it's the Derrick Henry effect. I mean, when that guy's on your roster, you have a chance every single game because he might blow through the whole entire team and score 3 touchdowns. But as a roster as a whole, and then how they performed, and Henry doing that natural running back regression, which they should have kind of been a little prepared for, I think that they definitely severely underperformed, and 6 wins was probably right around where they were expected. But that's just the quarterback that they had on their team just wasn't good enough.
Walmart, what would you give him?
So funny enough, I'm actually gonna double down with Kenny, and I'm gonna go F. The reason I go F is I give 3 teams in the league an F, and it's gonna be the Titans, the Panthers, and I'm sorry, not the Panthers, 2 teams, the Titans and the Patriots. I absolutely think like you have to take into account the Vrabel thing. Like yes, it's not necessarily a part of the season, but when you look at a team like Washington, and maybe I'm biased, but are no one had any hopes of us doing anything anything special this year. And all we did was in a new regime, new ownership, just try to get as many pieces as you possibly can to help build for the future. The Panthers, I'm not going to put in there because rookie quarterback, they had a
I
horrible.
gave him an F. Not
Hey,
because
you
of Bryce
can.
Young, but because of what they provided him.
Yeah,
They
you
set him up
absolutely.
for failure.
Yeah, you absolutely can, and you absolutely can to the Patriots. I just don't. I think the Titans are one of those teams that you absolutely can as well because you were really bad last year, and you somehow did everything wrong. Like you now are lost your focal point of your team. Mike Vrabel was like the heart and soul of that team, and you shipping him off or letting him go, whatever it was, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm doubling down with Kenny. I'm going F.
Fair enough, boys. Fair enough. All right, let's transition to the Indianapolis Colts. 9-8 last year, 15th in total offense, 10th in scoring without their rookie quarterback. Defensively, 24th total, 28th scoring. I landed on a B for the Colts going 9-8. They missed out in the playoffs, but considering that the quarterback you took fourth overall last year played what, 5 games, and you still had a winning record with Gardner Minshew, who that's kind of Minshew's thing, He comes in when he's not supposed to play and he plays well, but he's not a starting quarterback. He's kind of a Ryan Fitzpatrick guy in my mind in that regard. But Shane Steichen's the real deal, boys. Let's be honest. He comes over here from Philadelphia. They fall apart on the offensive side of the ball down the season, and he elevates his Colts team. And he didn't have Jonathan Taylor healthy all season. Zach Moss looked like a Pro Bowl running back when he got an opportunity. Gardner Minshew was a Pro Bowler. Michael Pittman was a stud last year, his best season of his career. He looks like a top 15 receiver, probably. I mean, I don't know, man. The defense needs a lot of work, but you got to be pretty excited if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, considering that Steichen Richardson combo could lead your team to a lot of good things in the next several years.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give him a B plus. I would honestly give him an A if they made the playoffs, which I'll get into the Texans later about why I give him that grade. But I mean, come on, let's be honest. What was their win total? 5.5.
Yeah, it was very
4.5.
6.5. It was 6.5.
Okay, so they way exceeded expectations.
I would know.
They
I took the under 7.5. So,
dumbass.
Not good.
So they way exceeded expectations. I mean, Steichen seems like he's one of the best offensive minds in the leagues after what he did with Philadelphia and then what he was able to do here with the Colts. So the defense was playing at a high level most of the year, and they were one weird drive. I didn't love the play calling at the end, and honestly, that was one of the weirder drives I've seen in a while where you're trying to close out a game away from being in the playoffs. So if they were to make the playoffs, I mean, that's an A- right there. But the future is bright there. Getting Michael Pittman back on the franchise tag, hopefully they can work on a long-term extension because I think he's legit. Downs showed a lot of promise, and Jonathan Taylor, like Walmart said earlier, he's going to be fully healthy next year, so that's scary.
Kenny, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to have to go with that A minus. I think they overperformed heavily, and this was not. I mean, at least in my opinion, I thought they were going to be like a 4-win team, 5-win team, kind of like you did, taking that under. I think the defense is obviously a major concern. If I had to give a defensive grade specifically, then they get a D. But I think overall, team wise, I mean, they put themselves in a position, all the way down to the last drive of the season to be in the playoffs and be in what Houston's position was, hosting a playoff game and maybe beating the Browns. If they win that game, we might be sitting here talking a little different about the Colts. Like, oh, are the Colts the team to beat next year instead of the Texans or the Jaguars? So I think it's definitely an A minus type season for them. No, there were no expectations with Richardson. It was between him and Minshew. We knew what we were getting with Minshew, but Richardson kind of balled out. And when he went down, I mean, the team took off. They just didn't even lose a beat. They've got a lot of weapons on that team with Pittman now coming back, and I think this team has a lot of potential for next year. And it's going to be interesting to see what goes forward with them. And it all starts with the defense, but I think A minus definitely for their performance this year, kind of at least way exceeding my expectation.
Walmart, over to you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Kenny and I are in sync. I'm going A minus as well. I think Gardner Minshew's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in terms of just like, yes, he's a career backup, but he's one of those like Jacoby Brissett type guy. Like he's a guy that can come in and ball out. Doesn't matter where you are, Ryan Fitzpatrick type guy. Like that's where I put him. Also, an underrated aspect of the Colts, obviously losing Minshew, you don't or losing Richardson, but their defense was like in the top 10 for starting field, like bottom 10 for starting field position. So they, and like out of 10 teams, were one of the had the worst field position starting out. So yeah, their defense was bad, but they were put in tough spots in fairness. And I think they're only going to get better. I think Richardson's, like everyone has been saying, Richardson's going to come back and go crazy. I think Pittman's going to have just as good, if not better years next year. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with A minus. Like they exceeded every possible expectation I had, even prior, like even with Richardson. And then any expectation I had when he went down, they far exceeded that. So I got to give him an A minus.
I'm not gonna lie, you guys might have convinced me to bump him up to a B plus. That's fair. That's fair. I like all your points, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big Anthony Richards fan. Go Gators. So my expectations for him next season, I want him to be my redraft quarterback. So all right, guys.
So real quick
Ours.
interjection, Tong. Sorry, I just wanted to also point out like how horrifically bad Reagan's take on the Cleveland Browns was prior to the playoffs. But I just think that needs to be touched on while I'm here. That was one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life, Reagan. Good God, brother.
Yeah, we can talk about we're almost
Hey,
in, and I want to bring up what I said before that playoff game to Reagan and why I flipped the switch. And
all
Reagan's
I'm
like,
saying
to
is,
win the
all
whole
I'm saying
thing.
is, like, girls want guys who come up with like girls want the clicks. Like I ain't getting that ain't gonna get me clicks if I was like the Chiefs are gonna win the Super Bowl. Actually, that may have, but like, what do you want me to do? Like sit up here and be like, yeah, I think the 49ers are gonna beat the Bills. I want the clicks, baby. So maybe it was a little wild, but you know what? I'm not gonna be that like I'm gonna be built like a stick of chalk. I'm gonna
All
try
right.
to come up with
Yeah.
I'm gonna play my brand of ball, and you know what? Bracket number 2 didn't work out either with the Packers, but at least they put up a damn fight. The Browns did not put up no fight. I can sit here and say that. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go from one of the biggest Browns supporters to one of the biggest Browns haters. Fuck the pedophile or not the pedophile. What's the word I'm looking for?
Just like sexual deviant. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that one better. Sexual
Yeah.
deviant and Watson, like Joe Flacco, good guy. Deshaun Watson, deviant. So it'll be
Agreed.
easier to
Deshaun
hate on
Watson.
the team.
Yeah,
So
I had to trade him in Dynasty. Couldn't. Bad for Team Chem, you know.
yeah,
Just
you don't
lose a
want
lot.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't
It's
want
actually
that
funny.
kid.
I remember Luke being like, I don't want Deshaun Watson on my team. Like he's just bad for Team Chem. And I'm like, dude, like he's been on your team for like 6 months. You still haven't moved him. Like just trade him. All right, guys, let's transition to the Jaguars. 9-8 record this year. Obviously started 8-3. Late season collapse. 13th in total offense, tied 13th in scoring offense, actually, with Houston. Defensively, 22nd total, 17th scoring. Reagan, I'll toss it to you. What grade did you give the Jaguars?
Well, I believe I gave the Eagles a B minus, who was a very similar situation. So I will give them a C minus just because they didn't win nearly as many games and they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, this was a team that coming into the year was supposed to be honestly, like they were saying the Titans might compete, but they were supposed to walk away with the division. This was like supposed to be one of the shoo-ins for the playoffs. So they had an epic collapse. Lawrence really didn't take that year 3 jump that we had hoped that he would continue on. And I granted he was playing injured towards the end, but come on, I expected more to him. The defense stepped up at times, and obviously losing Christian Kirk hurt the team a lot. But to be like, oh yeah, if they had Kirk, this team would have been in the playoffs, I think is crazy to say. So I think that franchise is in a weird spot where next year they got to make the playoffs. Otherwise, I think they're going to clean house. I mean, Lawrence, I still think is going to get the extension because I think he's proven that like he is a starting quarterback in this league, and I don't think they're going to find a better option in the draft. But things got to change for next year. But C minus for sure.
Kenny, I'll toss it to you.
Yeah, this is one of my most disappointing teams, I would say, in the league this year. I'm gonna have to agree with the C minus, kind of teetering on that D plus as well, just because at least for me, this was a Super Bowl contender. And the way that they collapsed was just, I mean, I get they had injuries, but that's something, contenders don't do. This was a team that should have walked away with the division, maybe 5-6 loss season, really competing to win that AFC, and we just didn't even get a chance to see that. They were just a very disappointing team all around, after that start, and they just rubbed me the wrong way after that. I mean, I do believe in Trevor. I mean,
Awesome.
Trevor is going to be a great, great asset for them going forward. He's definitely going to get extended. But I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know what kind of led to that. Maybe it was injuries. Maybe this is a situation where injuries were in fact the reason. But I think it was just very disappointing to see the way they went out. This was a team that was fighting for the first round bye, the number 1 seed, and to not even make the playoffs, and very disappointing, very disappointing. And they definitely have. It's going to be a big year for them next year, because if they don't make the playoffs, you might see some changes, not at quarterback, but whether it's in the coaching staff, front office. They're not going to be happy, because this is a team that, especially after what you saw the previous year, they kind of shocked some teams. They were ready to take the next step, and they took a step back.
Valid points, Kenneth. Walmart, I'll toss it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same. I'd say C minus. The one point that I don't agree with was because someone said Eagles were like a C minus or a B minus. And the Jags were a C minus. And maybe I'm a biased Eagle hater, but I just personally, I had way higher expectations for the Eagles than I did the Jaguars. I definitely had high expectations for the Jaguars, but I mean, they went to the Super Bowl. They didn't lose really anyone. Actually, I think there's parts of the team that got better. I mean, yes, the secondary got worse, but Jalen Carter, so I was super high on the Eagles coming into this year. Jaguars, but yeah, I'd say around a C minus, just because, like everyone said, just echoing, they did come in hot. T-Law looked good. You thought Calvin Ridley, everyone saw that one clip in training camp of Calvin Ridley running routes.
Yep.
And we were all like, oh my God, the Jaguars are winning the Super Bowl.
That dude's still fast.
Yeah. That was literally everyone's first thought. That was mine. So yes, super, super big letdown. One of the more heartbreaking ones, like Kenny said. But if they're C minus, I got to put the Eagles at a D.
Wow, that sounds like some Washington bias if I've ever heard it.
Yeah,
no, I was around there with the Eagles.
Yeah, double-digit wins it's fine, but when it comes down to the grade of expectation versus what happened, and
I get that. It's just more. The wins obviously factors into it, but it's also more so look at the divisions. Coming into the season, obviously we see how it panned out, but coming into the year, Jaguars were supposed to run away with this, where the Giants were coming off the playoffs last year. Washington, maybe people didn't have high expectations, but people are you know what? I coming into the year, I'd say Washington would probably going to be better than the Titans, Colts, or not the Titans, but the Colts and Texans as well. So just looking at the divisions they're in, and maybe I'm a little biased on the Eagles. I'm a big Jalen Hurts supporter, but I don't know.
Yeah, I ultimately landed on a C. It was hard for me to go lower because they had a winning record. Dude, you have a C minus. Why are you making a face? You have a C minus. I have a C. It's very close. They had a winning record, so ultimately that's why I felt like I couldn't go lower. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence. Also, I give him a pass a little bit because Lawrence had the shoulder and then the head injury. But what's concerning for me, and I don't know if this was the injuries, but he had 14 interceptions this year, which is up from 8 last year. His yardage and completion percentage was almost identical. Touchdowns were down from 25 to 21, and they added Calvin Ridley. So everyone thought his weapons were going to be better, and he's going to take that next step. I do think he's a sleeper next year for fantasy, particularly in redraft leagues, because I think he's going to slide down the board and be in that 8 to 10 range. And I think if they do add at the receiver position, he can take that big leap next year, hopefully, if he stays healthy. Another thing that really knocked it for me was the lack of development from Trayvon Walker, opposite of Josh Allen. You took him number 1, talking about the athletic freak, but clearly Aiden Hutchinson's a better player, and you passed on him. And most draft pundits thought Hutchinson's ready to play right now. He's going to be better, but Walker's ceiling is higher. can we really say Walker's ceiling's higher after 2 years in the league?
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
So him like not taking that next step is another big miss for Jacksonville. Now they did franchise tag Josh Allen. They need to get a deal done with him because he's a stud. Hopefully with him and Trayvon Walker, they can take those next steps together and get that dominant pass rush. They released Rodarius Williams. I mentioned that earlier. So now you have a gaping hole at corner opposite of Tyson Campbell, who's been solid out of Georgia. And also Travis Etienne looked really good last year, man. He looked like a top 10 back. I'm not going to lie. So that's a positive. Obviously, him and T-Law have the chemistry from Clemson. But, I'm a big Evan Ingram guy too. I was happy that, he got his last year and really took that next step. It was his best year of his career and best year since his rookie year with the Giants. So that was good to see. But yeah, I landed on a C. The collapse was terrible, let's be honest. Terrible. Can't happen. And Doug Peterson's a Super Bowl winning head coach. So hopefully he gets his team back on track going into next year.
Do you think T-Law's down year statistically has anything to do with Etienne, in how well he played this year? Like you said, he looked like a top 10 guy, arguably top 8 guy.
Yeah.
So I'm curious just to know what you think about that. Do you think his production really cut into T-Law, or was it just genuinely a regression type?
I don't know. I really think it was the injuries, man. I really think that was the issue. But, Etienne's a really good receiving back as well. So he can help elevate Lawrence.
I agree.
Although he was a beast on the ground. I am curious. I want to look up his receiving stats compared to the year before. Oh yeah, they were a lot better. He had 58 receptions this year compared to 35 last year. But some of that could be Lawrence's injuries, and he's checking down more instead of pushing the ball downfield when offensive lineman staring down at him. But I think Etienne can elevate Lawrence's game.
Yeah, that could be coaches too. Hey, you're throwing more interceptions than you did last year. Let's start checking the ball down to a stud running back who can go make a play. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it could be both. You're absolutely right.
But we did see a year before Trevor Lawrence led them back from down 27 to the Chargers in the playoffs, even after throwing 3 or 4 picks in the first half. 4 picks. That was really impressive. He showed some nuts there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, in fairness, Drew Staley is a communist, but yes, he did turn up for sure. He's a dog. I love T-Law. I traded for him. So
yeah, I love Lawrence. I expect Lawrence to be good next year. Very, very good. Hopefully they get him a receiver in the draft. All right, boys. Last but not least, the division champs, the Houston Texans, 10-7 season, man. Very impressive considering they were picking top 5 3 years in a row beforehand. 12th in total offense, tied 13th in scoring, 14th total defense, 11th in scoring with D'Amico Ryans coming over, getting that defense right. Reagan, what grade did you give the Texans?
And I don't just throw these around. A+.
I don't
think they could have had a better season. Think about it. Let's be honest.
Winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah, but come on. They way overachieved. There was no way they were winning the Super Bowl with that team. The fact that they went out, won a playoff game when they were supposed to come in and be the worst team in the division, offensive, defensive rookie of the year. Come on. D'Amico Ryans, while he didn't win the Coach of the Year award, he was a finalist for sure. You could have made a case, but what the Browns did, with Joe Flacco, unheard of. But anyway, how can you not give him an A+? Honestly, all right, fine. You want to say A, and if they won the Super Bowl, sure. But from what they were expected to do and the lack of talent, he made Nico Collins, and maybe Nico Collins is talented, but I think that was more of a Stroud thing than a Nico Collins taking that next step thing. But he made him look legit. Tank Dell, I believe, who they got in the 5th round, if I'm not mistaken, out of Houston.
No.
I know college ball. Did they get him earlier than the 5th?
He was 2nd round, I think, or 3rd.
No.
He was a day 2 pick.
No.
I'll confirm.
There's no way he was a 2nd rounder.
The latest he was 3rd. That's a fact.
3rd.
Because
3rd. Okay. All right.
Yeah, he was 3rd.
I was gonna say. All right. So still mid-3rd round pick. He made him look good, and Tank Dell's probably legit too. I'm not trying to knock those guys, but he elevated their game. Dalton Schultz had a good year, and that's why he got the extension too. And obviously, you've highlighted, their offensive line is very good. Laramie Tunsil's a stud. If it wasn't for the bong, he probably would have been the first overall pick back in the day.
Yep. Yep. He's a future Hall of Famer.
Damn shame, because look at it now. And we can get a little political here. Look at it now. Weed's legal now in the state we're in. in the dispensary
Yeah,
sense.
it is.
So.
I know the Giants passed on him because of the bong thing, and I mean that was stupid.
John Mary, you're a clown.
Our offensive line is dog shit, so I wish we had Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, I think most teams would take him, but yeah. So I landed at an A+. But I'm curious to hear what Walmart and Kenny have to say. Probably the same thing because they've been kind of together tonight on the same grade all 3 times. So very curious to see if we'll get something different here.
Let's hear it, Pop-Tart. You know I'm talking to you, Pop-Tart.
DirecTV,
me?
you there?
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
here I am. Well, if I could go above an A+, I would, if that was even an option.
Wow.
I mean, is there much to even say? I mean, you just had to watch. I mean, Tank Dell goes down, week 13, I believe that was, and I personally thought they were done. I thought, well, not done, but we're going to see a little bit of regression. They just lost their biggest piece, and they didn't miss a beat. They might have even gotten better. They might have looked at that and said, "Okay, cool, he's out. Doesn't even matter. We're going to go out and we're going to ball." I mean, they were unbelievable. I mean, I was not a Stroud believer at all. I didn't think he'd be good. No one really did. Everyone was saying, "Oh, he's the second best, but he's going to be well below, Bryce Young." And I didn't think Bryce Young was that good either. But just watching Stroud in college, didn't think he'd be any good. Didn't think the Texans would be any good. And wow, did they change the outlook of their franchise? They went from a bottom barrel team to now they are playoff expectations, maybe Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not going to throw that out there, but that's going to be, a conversation for next year just because of how they did this year. And you expect Stroud to take the next step. Yeah, 10 wins. Yeah. In the grand scheme, that's not a lot. And, probably doesn't worthy an A+, but considering they were supposed to win 4-5 games and, they went into a winner take all on the road, won that game, and then went into the playoffs and just dismantled, Joe Flacco, who, in the playoffs has a lot of success. I don't care how old he is. They still went out there and they dominated that game. And I mean, there's not much more you can say about what that team did.
Good points. Walmart.
Yeah, the same reason I put the Eagles at a D is the same reason I'm putting the Texans at a A+, is because based off of what the expectation was going into it versus where they're at now, it's a complete 180. When you draft second and then second overall and go win a playoff game, obviously that's just nuts. I was not a Stroud believer by any means. I actually thought Bryce Young was also dog shit. I thought Anthony Richardson was the only quarterback coming out of this class that was going to be good. And holy shit, I was wrong. But yeah, absolutely. They like Reagan and Kenny both said, the expectation versus reality is night and day. D'Amico Ryans has full control over that locker room. Absolutely was a coach of the year candidate, him, Campbell, and Stefanski. And then making guys like Noah Brown look good is just yeah, you guys are a good fucking team. I'm sorry. Look at a team and I'm not comparing them, but look at a team like the Chiefs, who or when you think back to the old really, really good teams of Brady and all that, it didn't matter who was at receiver, it didn't matter what weapons they got it done. They got W's. And to go out losing your best weapon with a rookie quarterback and going to be a veteran Super Bowl champion quarterback, spanking them with a really good defense, you have to give him an A+.
So I'm the dick of the group, huh? I gave him an A. I gave him an A. There's no plus.
Oh, come
I gave him an A.
on.
I will explain why.
How do you get an A+ with Professor Tom?
I will explain why. Okay, I will explain.
You got to be the Giants.
So, the Giants won the Super Bowl, I'd be an A+. But so clearly, you guys highlighted it. Winning the division and a playoff game this year was clearly overachieving for a team that picked second overall last year. And I highlighted why I picked Houston. I was going to take the Browns before that game, and then I saw C.J. Stroud at home and how good he is at home, and I'm like, yup. And the Cleveland Browns defense was 29th in points per game allowed on the road, and I'm like, oh, C.J. Stroud's gonna have a field day. And did he right away with Nico Collins lighting him up. I mean, that was phenomenal. Nico Collins and Tank Dell, young wide receiver core, awesome. And they have so much cap space. They can bring in a big dog if they want. Maybe
Like a
at the deadline.
Colin
You know what I
level
mean?
big dog.
No, not quite, but close to it. But maybe if a team like the Raiders is really bad next year, and at the deadline, Houston calls, maybe they're willing to move off Devontae. You can add a guy like that mid-season. They have the flexibility to do that. And thanks to a star quarterback and a rookie deal, they can. And they can add a star running back like a Saquon Barkley this offseason. They have a great offensive line in place already, protecting that rookie quarterback, which is so important. Now, I also did not think CJ Stroud was going to be legit. I thought he was going to suck. And wow, like I was wrong. We were all wrong, man. CJ Stroud, hats off to him. Phenomenal.
Whoa. I didn't expect him to be good, but I also didn't think he was going to suck. So don't say we were all wrong.
Okay.
Don't
okay.
lump me in with your shit take.
Well,
buddy.
you didn't think he was going to be good, so technically you're wrong.
When did I
He's
say
very
that?
good. He's very good.
No, I was down on Anthony Richardson. I was never down on CJ Stroud.
Okay, you were. Yeah. One thing I
We
want to
can
highlight.
definitely pull up the tape.
We can pull
Oh,
up
yeah.
the tape. It's all on
That's-
YouTube, guys. It's all on
That's
YouTube.
the shit
so
we love. That's why we podcast. This is why we do it. It's all on tape.
It's all on tape. Now, another thing I want to
on tape.
highlight on the defensive side, Derek Stingley looked legit, like third overall pick legit last year, which is good because obviously they passed on Sauce. And Sauce is better, but at least with Stingley being good, it doesn't hurt as bad because he still has a really high ceiling. So really beneficial for that Houston defense. And also, when they moved up last year to number
Some
3
would
to
say
get-
it doesn't. Some would say it doesn't sting as bad.
Yeah, that's a good one, Reagan. Now, also moving up to number 3 last year to get Will Anderson to pair with CJ Stroud, and they gave up their first round pick this year, and everyone's like, "Oh shit! Like that's gonna be a high pick, like rookie head coach, rookie quarterback." They never succeed. It's so rare in the NFL for rookie head coach, rookie quarterback to actually make the playoffs like they did and have success. So everyone's like, "Oh shit!" Like they just gave up a top 5 pick next year, and they're the pick that they had for Will Anderson. He better pan out. Well, he did. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year. So hats off to them. And now that pick is number 27 to draft, and they look like geniuses. But also on the flip side of that coin, Arizona has to do that deal any day of the week. Moving back a few spots and getting a first this year, they have to do that. So fair trade for both sides. The reason I gave him an A, not an A plus, they just couldn't hang with Baltimore in that game. And those are like the elite teams in this league. They got their ass kicked. Let's be honest. So although they clearly overexceeded expectations by a wide margin, they still have to close the gap for the elite teams in the league. And that's why I gave them an A, not an A plus. It's a little nitpicky, I know, but it just shows how, they're not as close.
The only thing with that, it's like and honestly, like that's a completely fair point. The only thing is like they had the injuries on offense and they played against the number 1 defense statistically in literally every stat. Like,
yes,
the only guy that was really able to make that defense look human was the best quarterback in the NFL. You know what I mean? So, yes, to your point, there is a gap between the Texans and a team like, the Ravens but is there that big of a gap between a team like the Texans and a team like the Bills? Or like a team like the Bengals next year, or like, just, the other top teams. I mean, the Chiefs and the Ravens were, and I guess, the 49ers were like the 3 elite level teams. But Texans the Texans are like right there with like the Bills, the Bengals, I think like with all like right there in tier 2. You know what I mean?
that's fair. The only thing I'd say about those teams, they have playoff experience. Like they've played in big games more so that this is still a young team to develop. So I don't think they can win a Super Bowl next year, but I think they can definitely make a deep playoff run, and probably compete in the divisional round. Potentially, I think their ceiling is AFC Championship. I don't see them getting by Kansas City on the road if they have to do that. Even if they match up with Buffalo on the road, like that's just a tough ask. But
I could see them beating Buffalo. Honestly, the only team
I
that'd be
could,
hard
but
is
it's gonna be
Kansas
tough
City.
in Buffalo.
In Highmark, yeah, I don't know.
What the hell has Buffalo proved though?
Or not
They haven't
Highmark.
proved anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think
Cincinnati
Buffalo's
though.
taking a step back anyway. They have no cap space, and the roster's just aging. They missed their Super Bowl window. Like the Cincinnati's scary because of all the cap space they have, because they're going to make some big moves. They got T. Higgins back and hey, Joe Burrow's coming back. So, but it'll be interesting to see if Callahan was a big impact on that offense, or they're just going to bring in another coordinator. Like, do the Bengals, do their offense, do they take a step back like Philly did this year, shifting coordinators? It'll be interesting to see.
The Bills' window is as long as Josh Allen is still on the field. That's how
Yeah.
long the window is.
Yeah,
I
I'd
don't
agree
know,
with
man.
that.
I
It's
don't
like
know.
when you have an elite quarterback, your window's always open.
Always.
It could always be open. It could always be open, but I don't see them right now at this point. I think they're gonna have to retool. I really just can't see this team like with, especially if Diggs leaves. Like, do you really think
Yeah, but think about all the
he's gonna
injuries.
be able to elevate it?
Yeah, I mean, just think about like all the injuries on the Bills' defense, though. I mean, like losing Matt Milano is like, as big as it gets. And then
Yeah, you saw their run defense went downhill right away.
right, so and the Bills, ended up actually having a crazy second half of the year. Josh Allen balled out, and they went to the divisional round and lost to the best quarterback, the Super Bowl champions. And honestly, Allen outplayed Mahomes in that game. Like, it's really hard for me to say that their window's closing or closed just because of the fact that, yes, even with all the injuries, they still were toe to toe, neck and neck with the Super Bowl champions. So that's.
And I will say I am a hater. Like, I'm a Jet fan at the end
I
of the
know.
day, so I'm a little biased, but
Oh
it
my
definitely
goodness.
it'll. Oh my goodness!
Take
All
that
right, you want me to put
unbiased
my
fan
unbiased
hat
fan
off.
on?
Come on.
Yeah, but I will say the AFC is going to be insane next year. I mean, look at all the teams that are like the Jets, the Bengals, the Chargers. We expect them to all be better next year. Even the Jaguars, I expect them to be better. Texans and Colts, would hope continue to take that next step. I mean, you can make a case for pretty much every team outside of the Broncos,
Raiders,
the Raiders, and Patriots and Titans. Like,
Yeah.
I think those 4 teams you could say won't make the playoffs, but the other 12, I think you can say all have a logistics chance to make the playoffs, but also go far in the playoffs.
Fair enough.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
that. Yeah.
All right, boys. Any last words? That wraps up the grades for the AFC South.
Fellas, I really appreciate you guys having me on. You guys are doing your thing. I'm enjoying watching every episode. Keep it rolling, fellas.
Appreciate that, brother.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
thanks
much.
for having me. This is a great time here. I mean, Reagan's got a couple of weird takes, but we expect that.
Yeah.
Hey,
Clicks.
gotta keep it real. Gotta keep it real.
All for the
always,
clicks.
You know what?
All for the
Chicks like
clicks.
All for
clicks.
the
Chicks like clicks.
Chicks
like
Put that on a
clicks.
damn T-shirt.
Oh my God, can we?
We can with the
New
round
merch.
the felt logo.
New
Chicks like
merch drop.
clicks.
There it is.
I mean, hey, it's like in the NBA. You think a chick wants to watch a guy that gets assists or point guard or points? Just gotta do whatever we can do to grow the brand. Can't be the stat nerd always.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, Kobe
man,
Bryant
ego.
definitely got more play than John Stockton. Like, no.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah. Come on.
All right, boys. That wraps up this episode of Around the Felt. We'll catch you later this week.
That's not even true. We're doing trivia.
Oh, why do I keep doing that, bro?
You
keep
guys
forgetting we have
are more than
trivia.
welcome to stay for trivia if you want. I
I'll
don't know
watch
why
it.
Colin keeps doing that,
Dude,
but yeah.
it's just like when you don't do trivia for fucking 5 months, you forget.
Oh!
Fuck, stupid me.
All right, well let's get Drock in here with some questions, huh?
Y'all want to take a break or you just want to?
We have to take a break because we need the other ad read.
All right, get the outro
I mean, we don't.
for the break.
Okay. Yeah, so we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back with the trivia. Yo, everybody, I wanted to let you know we got a big event coming up this summer. We're going to do the first ever Around the Felt Golf Scramble, so stay tuned. Check us out on social media. We're going to have more announcements to follow with the place, the amount of money, all the details that go into it. So just keep following us on social media to see more details. We can't wait to see you guys come out and play with us. Thank you.
All right,
Cue
guys,
the
we're
trivia.
back.
Buddy.
Cue the
Oh, wait,
trivia
Dave, you
music.
do it.
Let me get the intro rolling for the trivia.
Okay, you do the
Dave,
intro.
start
Dave.
it back up again. I'll edit it. Start it like how you would start it.
No, we're rolling. We don't do cuts on this pod. Cue the
No cut
freaking
pod.
trivia music. I don't have the trivia music, but let's get started. We got 15 questions for these boys. They're gonna raise their hand. Hopefully, you can hear the chime because it's a nice addition. But once they raise their hand, they're able to answer the question. Let's jump right into it for the first AFC South trivia. Who had the most tackles?
Most tackles.
You should be raising.
Alua Khan on the Jaguars. What?
Was it Speed on Indianapolis?
Zero.
Walmart Kenny,
Franklin.
you want to guess? Oh, too late. Okay, I didn't know it was Zero Franklin, but he's on the Colts, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
0-0. Next question. Who had the most sacks?
Josh Allen.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, buddy.
I was
That's
gonna
how
say-
I roll.
okay.
Raise that hand, Reagan. Come on. You too slow with that shit.
I was thinking.
Yeah, you didn't know?
I didn't want to
You didn't
jump
know
This
down
that?
one
again.
should be
The
the
guy that just got franchise tag for 22 million, probably that guy.
Could've been
this one
Buck.
should be the most obvious question. The third. Who had the most rushing yards?
Can I guess? ETN.
Eh,
Really? Okay, well, there's only one answer now.
I don't
Should
wanna
be
give it
easy.
away.
Derrick Henry.
Riding with the horse.
Dude, I don't
Yeah.
like the raising hand emoji. I'm just gonna raise my hand.
All right, fine.
That's
you
what
guys
I've been
can raise
doing.
your hand.
Bro, my computer would like glitch out if I tried to
Yeah.
actually do
All
Yeah,
that.
we
right,
do
two, 2-0, Colin.
Oh,
Who had the most
spank that
rece-
ass again, Reagan.
You guys are
Fuck.
just gonna raise your physical hand. All right.
That's what I've
who
been
had-
doing.
Good. Who had the most receiving yards? Reagan, your hand was up before I asked the question. I mean,
Fine, let him go. Well, what you want me to do this? Deuces. That's what he's doing. Go. Fine,
Michael
Colin.
Pittman Jr.
correct.
Oh my
That's-
god.
3-0.
I'm whooping that ass, little boy.
I tried to stick my hand up. He said I put it up too early. I'm a man of the rules. It's a good one. He had a good year.
Okay. Who had the most interceptions?
Mm. Mm.
I'll go with Cisco on the Jaguars.
Fuck, that's
Andre
right.
Cisco.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Eh.
Oh, really? I thought that I was gonna say. I was
You
gonna
guys
say.
mentioned
I
his
thought-
name a lot on the pod today.
Dude,
Alright.
what? Like, no, what? Why are
Sorry,
you waiting till I
sorry.
guess?
That's
and you're
on
like,
me. That's on
Hey,
me.
hey, Roomy.
I know it.
That's
Should've-
Rodarius Williams.
Wrong.
you.
Oh, why'd you tease me like that?
Derek
Penny,
Sting-
Walmart. You guys want to take a
Stingley.
guess?
It
No?
was Stingley, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
know Williams had 4.
Which team had the most total yards?
Colts. Colts.
Eh,
Jaguars.
eh. It was
Eh,
the
Texans,
Texans. The Jags were the
Yeah.
second, and the Texans had like 48 more yards than the Jags.
I really thought it was gonna be the Colts. I feel like they.
All
I
right.
actually had that right in my notes. Like I said it on the podcast, so that's pretty stupid. I got that wrong.
Okay. Who had the most kickoff yards?
Kick off or kick
Sorry.
return?
Yeah,
I'm
return
sorry.
yards.
Is this a team or is this a player? Like, what do you?
Team.
and what's
Sorry,
the-
sorry. That's on me. Bad question.
My hand was up first. Clearly, I beat him to the punch there. Jaguars.
Damn it.
Correct. They were actually the second in the league for
I
most.
also didn't really know what you were asking.
Yeah, that was on me. I
and then
missed
Colin
that.
like had his hand up while I was like asking you what the question was.
No, I said, is it kick return yards or kick off? And he confirmed return, and I raised my hand.
All right.
You're just slow.
Who had the most punting yards in total?
Team player.
Team.
Who's that? Who's that? That's me, right?
Yeah, it's you. You go.
I'm gonna guess the team that had the dog shit offense, the Titans.
Correct.
Oh my god, what is it? 6-1? I'm whooping 6-0.
Yeah.
Do you even
Yeah, I
have one,
mean,
bro?
Yeah.
He
He's
doesn't
I'm
have
asking
one?
him what the hell he's
It's
not
six
like
nothing, bro.
Yeah.
It's the
It's-
question's not
it's
hard.
5-0.
I'm blowing you
No.
out.
If he goes, who had the most punt yards? Like, is it?
It's registering for me up here.
Sorry,
I mean,
my
I mean,
bad.
I guess it wouldn't matter. But
No,
like if it,
no. I
can we just call a game? That's 6-0, bro.
Reagan, valid point. No, you can kind of have a comeback here. You have to go outright though. Okay.
let's go. Let's go. I'm locked in.
Which team had the most fumbles? That was Colin.
The Titans.
Eh.
Oh.
1/3 chance, Reagan. Come on, dude. Get one.
Oh, brother. I feel like I will go with the. I feel like it might be a little like one you wouldn't be expecting. So I'm gonna go with the Colts.
Eh.
Oh, come
The
on, dude.
Jags.
The
Hmm.
Jags.
I knew it wasn't the Texans. Damn. All right. So
Okay. Um. Which player had the most interceptions on the Jags?
Cisco.
Eh,
Rodarius Williams.
correct.
Oh, 7-0, my boy. Come
Is it
on.
7-0?
I just
know
said 2 minutes ago,
I think-
Rodarius Williams had 4.
All right.
I thought Cisco had more.
Yeah, we have 5 questions left. So,
Just run him
we'll
off.
just
We'll
run
him
through.
off.
That's
let's,
it, bro.
Let's see how bad he could kill me.
all right. How many passing attempts did Derrick Henry have? Very good.
3.
Correct. Let's go.
My boy's on the board. Let's go.
All right.
I'm heating up a little too late.
How many passing touchdowns did Anthony Richardson have?
3.
Let's go. He's on a roll. He's on
Oh, shit. My boy's heating up.
Okay. How many rushing touchdowns did Devin Singletary have? Very good.
8.
No.
7.
4.
6, isn't it? Oh, wow. Really?
Including playoffs? Not including playoffs? No, I'm kidding.
No, regular-
It doesn't matter. I
Yeah,
was
I mean-
definitely wrong no matter what.
Which team led up the most rushing yards? Go.
The Jaguars.
Colts.
Correct.
Oh, my God. Whooping that ass, dude. Whooping
We
it.
actually have a couple more questions. We forgot
Don't
about
forget
Austin.
Austin.
Oh, we do have Austy's questions.
All right. This one's a sensitive one for me, but how many rushing touchdowns did Will Levis have? Go.
1.
Correct. Yeah. You guys remember when Drock had Will Levis score and he took his yards? He had like 3 yards.
Well, at least you didn't start him in the fantasy championship. He got you negative 1.5 point.
That sucks.
I
Okay.
did that.
Let's go to Aussie's questions. Which AFC South team had the highest average time of possession per game? Shoot it. Reagan.
Colts.
Eh,
That's a good guess. I would have went with Colts. I'm going to say Texans.
it was the Jags.
Damn it. Ask anything about offense. It's not the Titans. So we have a 1 and 3, and we both just
Austy,
didn't get
that's
it.
a phenomenal question.
And for the last question for the AFC South.
Can I risk all my points before we start?
Correct. You definitely
You'd
most likely.
still lose. You'd
You
still
can.
lose. That's
You
how big
can.
of an ass beating this is, bro.
No.
I approve.
I think it's 7-4, I thought.
It's 8-3. I don't know where you,
Yeah,
where
it
you
is
got
8-3.
7-4.
All
Yeah,
right.
Whatever.
Which AFC South team had the highest red zone efficiency percentage in terms of scoring touchdowns this season?
Colts.
Bang. Take it home, Reagan.
Wow.
All
Okay,
right.
so you have 6 now after doubling your points in the last turn. I still
Yeah, I
beat
mean,
you.
we're not going to play that way normally. That was just to try to help me win. But yeah, Colin wins 8-4. He kicked my ass this time. In front
2-1.
of Walmart, in front of Kenny, in front
I
of
just
Dave.
embarrassed you in front of my friends.
Embarrassing. You know
Yeah.
what? Good for you. Good for you. But that also is kind of a fuck you because I thought I was friends with him too. But all right, if he's just your friend.
You're
Yeah.
my friend, Logan. You're my friend too. Don't worry about
Thank you. So you embarrassed me in front of our mutual friend. You know what? I kicked your ass before the season. You're kicking my ass now, but it ain't over. We still got 4 divisions left, so give me some time. But I want to thank Kenny. I want to thank Walmart. I want to thank our questionnaire guy, Dave. I want to thank my co-host. Great pod, fellas. One of many more to come on Zoom. Anything else you guys got to say before we sign off?
Great work, boys. Really appreciate you guys coming on. That was a lot of fun.
it. Thanks for having us, fellas. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and guys, whatever platform you're listening to this on, just make sure you're subscribed on, following us. It helps us out. We're trying to continue to grow this. So if you just listen to this whole podcast and you're listening to us ramble at this point, just do us that favor, please, and thank you.